Fijn. Dat is verplicht als voor de derde jaar om ook hier aanwezig te zijn, volgens mij. Maar... Ja, precies. Ja.
Ze moeten het wel volgen.
Ja, ja.
Maar je kan het online.
Ja.
Ja, met het oortje. Ja.
Ik ken er 2 mee.
En de microfoon niet.
Ja, die krijg je dan.
Oh, die heeft
Maar je moet van studenten inkomen.
Ja.
Want anders is eerst van een studenten en dan beginnen we.
Ik neem aan dat het... En anders.
Dat is zo hard ging als net niet voor mij.
Dat is nog lang aftellen hoor.
Die telt hard op. Dat.
Ja.
2 minuten om nog binnen te komen.
Ja, dus ja, 5 minuten later.
En waarschijnlijk rijdt Corijn mee.
Ja, dat vond ik ook.
Dus hebben we nog 2.
Dat is een redelijke campus nog.
Toch?
Ook daar nog, ja.
Ja.
Je zou zeggen dat studenten makkelijk weer deze kant op kunnen komen. Maar als, dat zou je denken. Hè?
We zijn niet allemaal in paarden.
Oh nee. Het is wel mooi dat die faciliteiten er zijn. Nee, ik ken het van Lars. Dus die had mij gevraagd om aan te haken. Ja.
We zijn wel met z'n tweeën. De rest is deels online. En misschien komt er daar iemand.
Juist.
Maar voorlopig met z'n tweeën.
Maar jullie tellen voor 2, dus jullie zijn er al voor. Jullie 2 en ook jullie even aanzetten.
Ja.
Dat staat al aan.
Hij staat al aan.
Oh, dat is goed.
Komen er nog meer mensen?
Het zijn een paar mensen laat.
Die is er nog wel moeilijk voor parkeren hier.
De parkeerplaats.
Zijn bussen die...
Die staan nog vast op de A1, toch?
Ja, dat was... Hoe is het autootje? Dat is een...
Ja, dat is wel verkeersregelaars op de weg.
Nee, dat is speciaal voor dit, toch?
Dat ook zeker.
Ze komen allemaal hier naartoe, hè?
Ja.
Kinderen.
Er was een enkele leeftijdsselectie. Ze moeten gewoon een detour
Ja, nou, dat is wel een gedoetje hoor. Ook mijn kinderen lopen mee.
Ja,
Even wat geregeld.
precies. Ik hoor iedereen over inderdaad.
10, 10, 8 en 10.
Maar je zit er nog even in.
Ja, sorry?
Je zit er nog even in.
Ik zit er nog even in. Ja, superleuk. Ja. Ja, er komt er nog één.
Verrassing.
Nou, niet helemaal. Maar wel, we hebben altijd gezegd, nou, 5 jaar is wel de maximale dat we het willen laten.
Ja.
En we hadden het ook helemaal prima gevonden als het niet was gelukt meer. Ja, heel dankbaar dat het toch nog mag gebeuren. Dus, 2 meiden en dan die jongen. Ja, dus dat is ook nog wel een beetje de kerst. Ja, maar heel leuk. Volop in die avondvierdaagse dus.
Zijn jullie niet op dieet?
Ben je er een beetje
Ja, zwemles.
Zwemlessen,
Ja, al die
blij dat die
zaken die
fout
komen.
bij was.
Ja, die mag ik nog een keertje
Ja,
meemaken.
die mag er nog een keer in.
Gaan we beginnen? Ja? Lekker. Dan gaan we beginnen.
Okay, I think you can hear me all very well. It's loud enough, that's good. Welcome everyone to this talk show organized as part of the event, the International Eres Equine Experience. And this part has been organized by the students of the study program International Equine Business Management. The goal of today is to, of tonight, is to explore how horses can contribute to the society. And we are going mainly to focus on the horse-assisted coaching. And in particular, we will explore together with the members of our expert panel the role of horses in human well-being. My name is Henka Rose. I will be the host of tonight. I'm a team member of the Equine Business Management team. I'm the study leader of the study program International Equine Business Management, and I'm also an equine assisted coach. I hope that everyone online can follow everything in a good way as well, because we have here some audience in the event room, and we have, I think, a lot of people online, so also welcome to you. What can you expect tonight? There will be 2 rounds where our expert panel will dive into the topic of the role what horses can do in human well-being. After each round, there's the possibility to ask questions. So when you're online, we have 2 moderators here in the room. They will collect all your questions and of course here in the audience. So then I will ask you if there are any questions for you to ask. In between the 2 rounds, we will have a small break. At 8 o'clock, we will continue with the second round, and we will make sure to finish up at 9 o'clock. Before we will continue that, we will introduce the panel. I would like to give the word to Twan van Westing. He is the team manager of the Equine Business Management team and the program leader of the study program Equine Business Management.
Thank you very much. Well, here stands a proud program manager, Equine Business Management at EROS Dronten. And I'm asked to open this program and welcome everybody here in the room, but especially our guests online in Coimbra, Portugal, Savonia, Finland, and maybe also Zeust, Deutschland. Our very and highly respected partners and universities. Now, part of our curriculum is event management. Every year, students independently organize a complete event. On Thursday, the 22nd of May, the 3rd edition of EROS Equine Experience will take place at the beautiful venue, Flevodrome, well known by everybody. But tonight is the international prelude of it, and I'm curious to see what the insights of our expert panel, our learned guests, can offer us and hope on a constructive exchange. Personally, I am convinced that horses have impact on people. For me, brushing my horse is already a moment of mindfulness. Well, let's get started. Everyone have fun, you all too. And it was great to see you all here and see you in the audience over there. Have a nice evening.
Thank you very much, Twan. And I see that Else stepped forward already, because this evening has been organized by you as a group of students of the International Equine Business Management program. Can you give a bit of a background information about your program and how come you're organizing this event?
Well, for the study, we are doing the International Equine Business Management study, which means that everything we do is part equine, part business, and everything in English. So we meet a lot of international students, we go on trips, which is very educational also. And we are very delighted to have you all here, join us at our event, and also for the people that join us online. And we really hope you have a nice and educational evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elsa. And I think we can use your microphone here on stage. Perfect. Because when we look here on stage, I think we have a very nice expert speakers here on stage. And I think it's nice to get started with an introduction round, to get to know all of you before we dive more into details about the topic of tonight, of course. I wanted to ask if Katelijne would like to start. Katelijne Visser, you're a professor in human-animal interactions here at the Eres University of Applied Sciences.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Am I still? You can hear me? Yeah. Okay. Also, thank you for the organizing committee for me having here as an expert panelist. Very curious to hear tonight all perspectives. My background is animal science. I'm not a vet. I have focused mainly on the behavior of horses, and in particular the character and the well-being of horses. So that is my perspective from today. And I'm, as a scientist, I've done some studies on horse behavior and welfare, particularly also in this sector of equine assisted interventions, also together with the other partners here. So yes, very curious for today. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And you already were signaling to the couch next to you, Sylvia Bosveld and Paul Tonino of Caprilli Equine Assisted Coaching and Training. Can you introduce yourselves as well?
Yes, my name is Sylvia Bosveld, and together with Paul we have a company. It's called indeed Caprilli Coaching and Training. And the coaching part is our reintegration company. So we help people to get back to the to labor, and for that we use horses to mirror them and to become more able to work again. We work a lot for UWV, which is, how would you say that in English?
Social Security Office.
Yeah, the Social Security Office, and apart from that, a lot of other companies. And the training company of us is the education part. So we train other people, we educate them to become horse coach themselves. And we live in Barneveld. We have our own farm where the horses are available, and well, we are quite busy. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Paul Tonino. Sylvia already said almost anything. But yes, we live together, we work together. We are working now with our company for some 16 years, and we know each other for 16 years. And we met because Sylvia was into horse coaching, equine assisted coaching. I was a coach and I was a rider also, but I never heard of using horses for people in another way than jumping, dressage, etc. And well, we met, we fell in love, and we started working together. And yeah, the next moment we are sitting here on the couch in Dronten. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Nice to have you here. And of course, Tom Klinker, you're here as well on behalf of your company Media Movers. And you're also very interested in the personal development and growth of individuals. Can you also give some background information about yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Tom Klinker. I'm a coach, traditional coach, I believe. I was presented that, but we discussed it about it, and the traditional part is skipped. But it's coaching without animals, without horsing. And my background is like 60 years in personal development already, and I've got a deep belief in helping humans to get help in the personal development, bring them a little bit forward in their development. Sometimes it's a big moment for them in their life, sometimes it's a small, but always a little step towards development. So that's my background. So I'm sitting here in the role as a coach without horses.
And that's also good. We're very glad that you're here.
So I'm very curious about horse coaching myself as well.
Yeah.
And of course I've got a little bit of background in experience coaching with horses. So I believe that it can help and enrich coaching as well. So.
Good to hear. Thank you very much. Thank you for introducing yourselves, because now we have a bit more of a background, like who is here on stage. And since we're going to focus today, of course, of the role of horses linked with human well-being, of course, we talk about coaching. So then it's interesting to explore also, like, what made you all started looking at coaching, and also at which moment did horses become part of your world. Sylvia, is it maybe a question for you?
Yes, well, horses have been a big part of my life ever since I was 5 years old. So I was used to ride on ponies and later on bigger horses. I was always riding on a manege and having a lot of horses from owners to take care of them. And it was about when I was in my 20s somewhere that I worked for a financial company, and I was near a burnout. And there was also this financial crisis in 2008. And I had the chance, or I was fired in a way. It was the start of the financial crisis. And for me, the horses were always giving me a lot of energy. And I had my own horse at that time. And it was a very tough period for me because, well, I was fired. My marriage ended. My mother got sick and died a few months later. So it was a very heavy period. And what I did a lot was going to my horse. And I had a lot of support from the horse and also the other horses around him. And I started thinking, what is it about horses that I get so much energy from them, that I feel so good? When I came home back from my horse, I felt better. So I was thinking about the effect that my horse had on me. And that I felt better, well, sooner than I think I should normally get. And I thought, well, this might be an effect that horses have on people. So I started asking other people, what does your horse mean to you? And it's very funny because I heard from several people that almost about the same answer, which was they give me friendship, they give me rest, I feel better, I feel more released, I am in nature, it is my hobby, it is my sport. So a lot of that reasons. And that was nice to hear because for me it was the same. And then I started thinking, what could it be the same for people that are not related to horses? Can the horses be as important as they were for me and other horse owners? And that is where my study to horse coaching started. And mostly on this experience, I developed my way of using the horses for people.
Yeah, so I think a big story what you're sharing now about your personal life, but that was, of course, the starting point of where you're standing right now.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you. And Tom, maybe from your side, how did you get started with coaching?
I started, I think, 16 years ago now, 17 years ago now. And I always have a deep interest in the human well-being and the development. So I started from a marketing perspective. It's a different way of looking at coaching, but that's my starting point because I experienced that if you talk about marketing and look to ads, well, set 10 human beings in a row and ask them what they like about marketing advertising, they always say a different thing. And if you narrow it down, it always has to do with some kind of non-verbal communication in the acting of an actor. So that was my starting point of the interest in about non-verbal communication and the role of coaching in that part of communication. So that's why that's when I started my own company and developed myself in the coaching and training industry. So that's my starting point.
Yeah, so really by looking at how people behave and then you realize the non-verbal element is a very important one.
Yeah. So I was interested in communication. So it's for me also very interesting in the communication from a horse perspective to a human being in the same area as the horse, and also the coach, the horse coach of the horse coaching. How do you say it? And that dynamic between those three. So that's I'm very curious about that. And
yeah, because do you know, Tom, what is the way horses communicate?
well, I think it's a way that they reflect in the non-verbal way what the energy is, what they experience in relationship to the person next to them, and I think that it's very interesting to know to the experience of the horse coach to interpret the mirroring.
Yep.
And how they can translate that to the development of the person in relation to the learning question or the coach question.
Yep.
So,
and I think what you mentioned now is maybe interesting to explore now immediately as well, like what is equine assisted coaching, right? So, and I think Paul, maybe you can share some information about that from your perspective.
Yes, you've got basically three different ways, and that's on a very basic level. And all those ways are using the horse, but in a different way. For example, you have got the way of horse-assisted coaching on the horse. So you are speaking for disabled people, that can be mentally or physically disabled people zijn. But you've got also the horse boy methodic, where they sit on the horse. The second one is with the horse. So
is it only for disabled people or people with a disability?
No. You can also use it for the horse boy methodic. It's a special kind of coaching. And you've got also, I don't know the English word, logopedie.
Ah, yeah.
No.
I don't know.
Well, logopedie is when children has verbal issues of speaking and find the words and has difficulties with their expression.
Okay.
They can lay down on the horse.
Oh wow!
And that works very well. And you've got also types of coaching, like, for example, to learning mathematics or the alphabet. Ah. And when children are on the horse, they are much more at ease. And they're not thinking, and they don't have stress, but they are one with the pony in most cases. And that works very well.
That's great.
Second part is with the horse. So you do, you got, for example, you lead a horse throughout obstacles, or you use a round pen where you have to get the horse in trot or galloping, and this will say something about leadership, what energy you have, and how the way you are using it for the horse, but also for other people. And the third way, and that's our way, and the way we work, is with a free horse. We call it with the horse. So the horse is completely free and is free to choose if he will react or not. In our experience, the horse will always react on people. And the way we use it is that the horse uses his instinct that he also uses with his fellow horses when they are in a hayfield, etc. Yeah. And they are using that for the client or the coachee who is with the horse. But the horse will detect some strange vibrations, strange energy, excitement, tension that we hold as humans. We can hold a very good tension, and the horse think that's strange, and he will react on it. So the horse is free to react on the person. So those are the 3 basic methods.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
If a horse coach is looking both to the coachee and the horse, of course, where do you look at, if you look at the horse, whether or not he's reacting? What kind of signals where are you looking for?
Well, the way we do it, we look at the horse and see what he or she is going to do after the client enters the round pen. While the horse was still first standing, just relaxed, and if a person enters the round pen and, for example, he starts wiping his tail. In horse language, horses do that because they feel a bit anxious or a bit nervous. And because the horse wasn't first doing it and the coachee enters and he starts doing it, we use that as a sign that the horse probably notices some tension with the client that relates to anxiousness or so. And then we ask the person, what do you recognize with yourself? So in short, we use the signs of the nature of the horse to explain it in the horse language, and then put the question to the client, what do you recognize about yourself?
Okay, so it's very important as a coach that you know what is the normal status of behavior of the horse. Otherwise you cannot see the difference, right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why when you start the horse coaching, we get the horse out of the stable or out of the field, and we put them in the round pen and leave him or her for a while, so that he can look around, sniffle, and hear if he is safe. And then after a while, he will just stand next to me. Somewhere around and looking like, oh, what's going to happen? Totally relaxed.
So that's also a time you really are busy with observing the horse.
Exactly, yes.
Although you probably are not aware of doing it, it's a very busy time for you as well.
Yes, it is. And I'm sure that in this period of time, it's only a few minutes, that you can see the horse as he is from its own personality.
So the focus is at that time on the horse and not on the client, or both?
Yes, and in the meantime, we have a talk with the client with some coffee or tea and introduction. And I always explain the horse needs some time to feel safe in this area. But I always watch with one eye. I keep an eye on the horse, and then we just talk. And after a while, we can start, and then the coachee can enter the round pen to make contact with the horse.
Can I just ask questions?
Yes, of course.
Oh, well, I was curious about the language of the horse, because I think it's the same as humans. It's a lot of non-verbal communication we do. So all the signs that a horse can give, I think you have to notice that as well, right? The smallest amount of signals. Does it happen that you can see on the horse that something happened, but you cannot relate it to something what happened in the relationship with the client? That you say.
Yes, it happens a lot of times that when the coachee enters the round pen, the horse first stands still and is watching the person, what is he or she going to do. And after a while, he will do something. It can be anything. It can be very small. He can, for example, close the eyes halfway or totally, or just move some ears, but still standing still. Most of times it is because of the client that puts all the energy to the horse. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to tell me? What are you mirroring me?
Yeah.
But then I ask the client, well, how are you standing there? What do you feel in your own body? And that gives the horse some space to start reacting to the tension of the person. As I explain it, people are a lot in their head, in their mind. And if you do so, you're not in contact with your body. And the horse, how do you say that, scans people on tension you have. Yeah. That's how we explain it. And a horse only wants to know if you are a member of my herd. Are you able to run if there is a wolf? Yeah. Nowadays, it's the wolf. Can you run from the wolf? And if you have tension, you are not able to run. So I will help you to become less tense, so that we can both flight.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe in addition, I'm just thinking about a scientific study I read a couple of weeks ago, is that that they have proven that horses are more willingness to walk towards a person that takes a more subordinate posture compared to a person that takes a very dominant posture. Is that something you also recognize in the practice?
I think that's very relevant when a person is having behavior, strong behavior towards the horse. And in the part that you use coaching with horses, so for example with horsemanship or so, it's really true that the horse reacts to that. But in the way we do it, when the horse is only free and a person enters the room, the horse scans the tension and will react to that. So if only a person is standing there doing nothing, just breathing, the horse still is giving some signs. And that is in our way what I look at and try to translate it as objective as I can from the horse language, and then ask the question to the person.
Yeah, but it's very important that it relates to the learning question from the client.
In theory, I agree. But most of times when a person has a learning question, what was it?
I don't know how they
Hulpvraag?
English hulpvraag.
Yeah. It is not really what is going on underneath. We do a lot of reintegration, so that is our main goal, to help people get back to the labor market. And there is a person coming and he or she says, well, I was having some difficulties with my previous boss. He was very dominant, and I need to learn to handle dominant people, for example. And now we invite the person to go into the round pen and make contact with the horse. And a lot of times the horse will go, well, in English, stand systemisch staan, we call it in Dutch. It's a bit tough to explain, but what horses do is they going to stand in a kind of trance, which is weird because horses are always awake and able to flight. But what we know about that until now, but I love to do some some research on what is happening. It relates to people that have experienced some difficulties in their youth. For example, with a mother or father that were not available, or there was a lot of tension in their past. And horses then will feel that tension and they go into the trance. So that is really weird. People can come up with a question, but most of times there is something underneath that is the cause of their question.
Yeah. I find it interesting to question it in the present day. So I think coaching is not therapy, and it's mainly focused on here and now, and in the how do you say, the future. So if it's always relevant to know what the cause is from the youth or from nature or nurture, yeah. For a coaching question. So I think it's relevant to know a little bit maybe about it to put it in perspective, but it's mainly not necessary to focus it deeply on it and put the therapy on that, because that's not the coach question.
Yes, in some way I agree with you, but
But I can relate that, because in the normal way of coaching we see a lot of questions on the surface, but if you ask questions throughout the dialogue, we always see that it's something deeper, what's necessary to address, but to focus on the future. But it's not always necessary to put the focus on trauma or the youth.
yes, I agree. But what people mostly think of what they are dealing with is not always what is really the cause. And horses are very neutral. They have no opinion. They have no agenda. So they only react to the tension people store in their bodies, which they are not aware of. We do not think, well, I put some tension in my body. It's just when we cannot or don't want to deal with emotions or experience that hurt, we put them away. We need to be strong. We need to go on. We need to, just continue your life. And these emotions are not gone, they're just put somewhere in your belly mostly, in your darmen.
Bowels, yes.
Bowels. And horses are so sensitive that they feel that the tension is there. So when you ask or first explain what the horse is probably telling you, because I don't know, it's just that we explain the reactions of the horse towards the client. And horses can help. They go to a person and they sniffle with their nose in the belly. And they do that because they feel tension right there. And the horse coach just needs to explain, horses do that because they feel some tension. If the horse is pointing out tension with you, what do you know about that? Where does that tension relate to? And that is most of times totally different than the question they come with. And it's not necessary to talk about all traumas or so, but at that time, people can start feeling in their body that there's something moving. Something is starting to relax. They feel it literally in their body. And that for me is the proof that something is changing with them. And at the same time, they get some insights at that time or later on. Oh, wow, the horse was pointing out my tension. I have a lot of tension because, well, whatever. People don't have to share. They might, but if they don't want to, they don't have to. And that's funny because the question I have for you is when you just do it by talking, coaching by talking. Most of the times, the coachee is very smart, they can pass your questions, or if they feel, oh, I don't want to go that way, they just take another route or so. So how do you handle that?
Yeah,
human knowledge, I think, basically. But we are trained to, how do you say it, prikken door. We'll see through it, through the routes they're taking. So I think it's the similar part is that if a horse sees or feels the tension that they pointed out by sniffling or whatever, and that you as a coach can translate that signal to a coachee, but at that time you're in dialogue with the coachee. So that's the similar part for me as a coach without horsing. But I think that with a horse you get quicker to the essential point of the coaching. And in my part of way, I have maybe 2-3 sessions needed till I think that we are there to the main cause.
So you want to learn horse coaching as well?
So, of course, but there are certain ways. So you can always well, horses is one way, of course, but you can do it by tests also. But I think there's other ways to do it. But yeah, I think horses works very well to address a cause or a question quicker.
And maybe when we continue looking at this topic, because we're talking, of course, about what do we see, so the top of the iceberg and what's happening below, and you all both have your own ways of dealing so with it. But when we look a bit further in the connection between humans and horses, what makes it then so valuable to work with horses? Because as Tom is telling, like, I can manage to get in the lower part of the iceberg as well. Maybe it goes in an other way.
Takes a little bit longer time, maybe.
Maybe, yes. So what makes the connection between humans and horses so valuable?
Well, people love animals. And with an animal, you can be yourself. You won't be judged. Mm-hmm. You will always be accepted. You don't have to talk. Most of our clients have so often talked about their problems, about their traumas, and have had therapy, etc. They don't want to talk anymore. And when you can join a horse, be with him or her, and feel how soft and how warm he is, and we explain what horses do, that they always want to relate to herd members. And I call them in Dutch tweebenige kuddegenoten. So a herd member on 2 legs. The horse connects always. And that is what people have forgotten to do. We did not learn to connect with ourselves, with our own body, and therefore it is difficult to connect with other people. But animals do always make that connection. Horses do that, but dogs do that. Sometimes a cat, if you have a nice one, they do it as well.
Yeah. Is there dog-assisted coaching? Yeah, great. Yeah.
Yes, there is as well.
Yeah. I can believe that helps as well. All right.
Yeah. I'm looking to the moderators, and I think we also have some questions from the audience online and maybe here in the room as well. Online, I see that there are 2 questions. The first one, is there a risk of over-interpretation when reading the signs? So then the signs of a horse, I assume.
Yes, there is always a risk. It needs really a lot of experience to be able to point out what the horse is probably meaning. So that is one important thing to learn to starting horse coaches. But on the other hand, I always say to the students, you can ask the client what is happening in her or his body, Because when you're just talking with your client and there's not much happening, and you, like you are saying, the horse is meaning that, you are filling it in for the person. But if the body of the person is not reacting, so there is no emotion or no pain in the stomach or well, whatever it is, well, so that is important that a person notices some movement in his or her own body. Like horses cannot lie, the same it is for our body. So for me it is important, and I teach that to students as well. Always ask the person what they recognize themselves in what you translate from the horse, and what they feel at that time in their own body that is moving.
Yeah, so really double check with the client, like what's going on. But also what you mentioned, very important, educate yourself in a good way, that you have, as a coach, have a good basics to start with, and then to really look at your client.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I would like to add to that. I think it's a very important question, because we can never know what animals mean, and that's also is for the horses, but also for dogs and other animals that are in close contact with us. So we do try our best to assume or presume what they mean, but we will never know for sure. And that's why it's so important that we all learn, and you are specialized in that, to look and to read all the signs the horses give, and especially horses as prey animals do give very small signs sometimes, and you have to interpret them all at the same time, because you need more than only the tail swishing. You also need at the same time to look at the ears, at the head, and the posture, and the way it walks it quickly in a normal pass, or does it move more slowly and more secure. And that all picture we try to do as objective as possible, and that's I think is very challenging, because you both have to look at the coachee as well as the horse, and that's why I'm very enthusiastic about your work, because it's so much you do at the same time. Yeah. But I do think according to the question, there is definitely a risk of overestimating our feeling, what we think that horses or animals in general mean. So that's a very true question. Yeah.
So also what you're saying to all the equine assisted coaches, make sure to stay updated, keep on training your eyes. What do you really see looking at the horse?
And be as objective as possible, because and we learn from science, we learn more and more every day, and new findings and new papers come out that give us more information what different signs a horse give altogether would probably mean. Yes.
So keep on educating yourself. Yeah, really important.
Is it manageable?
What do you mean? What
well, like to focus on both parts? Like it's a lot, you said. So is it manageable? That.
Well, for me, if I speak for myself, it is, because I was only 5 years old when I was between horses, and I feel more safe in a herd of horses than that I would walk in a shopping street or so. Yeah. So I know, or I think that I know what they are doing, what they are communicating with each other, and I can relate to that. So it is important for a horse coach to be familiar with horses and how they communicate to other horses, their own horse language. And from that point of view, you try to be objective to explain to the client what they are telling. And it is funny, because I learned from clients that if a horse does something specific, in the beginning, I learned that people said, "Oh, it's probably because I am anxious, or it's probably because I have grief."
You get feedback from those too.
Yeah, I learned from the clients as well that horses might probably mean something with what they are doing at that time. And if you read a lot of books and see a lot of documentaries, then you can see it again from another perspective.
And throughout time, is it happened that you misunderstood in a sign of a horse, that you believe in time that it means something, but over time there are new studies and you learn a lot more, and you came to the conclusion that you all the time misinterpret that signal and it's meaning different, something different. Does that happen
Yes,
also?
for sure.
Yeah.
I started 16 years ago, and in the meantime, I learned a lot that was new, and we did this research together, and you learn a lot of what is still in the face of a horse, very small details, what it probably means in their language. So you need to re-see, to herzien.
Yeah, reseek. Yeah.
To reset everything you ever learned,
Yeah.
and to share what you learned new.
And call every coachee that you treated that it
Yeah, I
means
call
something
them
different.
everyone personally. We have this syllabus that we upgrade every year, and then it is the last information that we learned. You keep learning in this profession, and that's
I
also
know,
what
yeah.
makes it so nice.
And I think that's also a very important message, like as a coach, to be honest, to look at yourself, what can you learn, and to be open for that. And not only doing the same things over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's relatable. Like you're the best instrument.
Yeah.
Yourself. Huh?
Exactly. I think, looking at the time, it's time that we start with the break, and then we will continue at 8 o'clock sharp again with the second round.
Great. Wat zeg je? Ik heb hem uitgezet. Nee? Oh, ik dacht het wel. Horen ze mij allemaal nog?
Okay, everyone. It's 8 o'clock sharp, and as said, we're going to continue at 8 o'clock with the second round. Everyone here in the event room also will install themselves. In the first round, we really could see what is coaching, what is equine assisted coaching, and what is happening in the context with human beings and animals. But I think it's also interesting to have a further look, like what is happening in the connection when you look at human beings and animals. So Catalina, I think this is a nice question for you. How does the human-animal interaction, how does that evolve?
Oh, thank you. That's exactly the topic of my professorship, human-animal interactions. So thanks. Yes, from the scientific side, and I think Sylvia already mentioned it to the full, but I will try to put it in the models. There are more or less 3 different theories that explain why humans and animals are connected or have built a relationship. And one of them, I think that's the most common one we know, is a support theory, the social support theory. And it's always good to have somebody that doesn't judge you. You can just be yourself, feel the warmth, touch it, pet it, etc. That's the social support theory. And it also, if I can take it a little bit broader, also to dogs, that's a very important theory as well for example, lonely people or elderly people that walk their dogs and meet new communities. So that's a social support one. Another one is the I always have problems with pronouncing it, biophysiology hypothesis, and that means that, and also Sylvia mentioned that we are attracted to nature. That's how we are born. We love nature. We always prefer something living instead of something like a cup or an auto or something more technical thing. That's the nature. And especially during the COVID pandemic, we have learned that being in nature, not even animals, but also trees and the pasture, is helpful and makes us feel good. And the third one, and I think that's also a very important one, is the attachment theory. And that means that we as humans always want to care for other living beings, and especially when they're young. And that also explains why we are so fond of young persons or young animals, because they have these big eyes and they have this cuteness. This cuteness factor comes there. And if you talk about dogs, it's the look of love, the big eyes of the dogs that attracts us. We just had a workshop this morning about whether or not you should buy a dog, and well, if you go to see young puppies, well, everybody knows you're not going to go away without one.
That's true.
That's a risk. But back to horses, there's also this last theory, the attachment theory, has also proven a lot of things that are more physiological. For example, if you pet a horse, your heart rate and your heart rate variability reacts to that. So you get a lower heart rate and a higher heart rate variability, which is good. So your stress is lower. But also a very interesting hormone is the oxytocin. And the oxytocin hormone increases, and that's exactly the happiness or the attachment hormone. So that's the more theoretical side of all the things you said.
And can I ask a question? Because I have the idea that there is something like energy going between horses and people, but it's tough to explain what that is and how it is happening. In previous times, people said, well, that does not exist. It is fake, what you are telling me. But is that something that you recognize, or where you have a theory about?
I of course looked for it. I didn't find really a theory or a proof for it. From my perspective as an etologist, where I look at behavior both from persons and animals in this case, I think what is happening is that all the horses observe really close your posture and your little size. For example, do you know the story of Clever Hans? The horse that could tell?
Right? Ah, yeah.
Yeah. With that leg. Well, it counts, yeah. Well, of course, this horse cannot count. Horses are smart, but not that smart. But he reads your face. He reads the little muscle tone in your face when he has to stop scraping with his leg. So, from my perspective, I don't know about the energy, but I see the observing behavior of the horse, what you are doing, even if you're not aware of what you're doing.
But what is really interesting, I think, is that when I ask a coachee to enter the round pen, there's always a few things that happen with the client, and especially the clients that are not used to horses, because the ones that are used to horses are thinking about what is the horse going to do, etc. But a person that is not related to horses normally, for example, they cannot think that clearly anymore. They're more in the here and now, and almost always people start feeling some kind of a trilling, tremble in their under legs and hands. And most of times they say, yeah, but it's a bit cold here, so that is because I am cold. But it also happens at when it's 30 degrees.
Yeah, I think that's a very logical, also physiological reaction of your body. You are maybe curious to what's happening, or maybe anxious what's happening, and that means that your heart and your blood and your heart rate is reacting to that, and that's if it's 40 degrees, you can still probably feel that. So I think that's a very logical reaction as well. Yeah.
So it is because they are curious or anxious, you think?
Yeah, I think the mood or the setting, it does not cause only a behavioral reaction of the person, but also a physiological reaction, which makes a person more aware of feeling things that are happening in its body. And it's really good because at that moment they are more or less forced to feel more than they're used to feel. That's probably why they are aware of it.
Okay.
So it's more physiological than energy.
Well, I'm not an expert in energy, but that's my explanation from my expertise.
Scientific perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting.
Well, I believe in
research.
energy as well. So that's yeah.
But that's an interesting topic to do some more research about, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And we're talking about what horses can do for us as human beings. But when we look from the perspective of the horse, how do we look at it from a welfare perspective?
Yes, that's something we did in our study a few years ago. We presented it last week of last year. Yes, and it's also published on scientific publication. What we did is we tried to see how the horses would be, how do you say that, are affected by being as a horse coach or a therapy horse. And what we did, we looked, of course, a lot to the behaviors, what we saw, and at the same time we also asked the coaches to notice that behavior, and as I explained earlier, very objectively. So look at the ears, look at the tail swishing in the head, etc. So this research had two things. We collected data, but also all the coaches that are already working in this field were even more aware of the behavior of the horse. So I think that was a very win-win action. And what came out of the study is that both for horses used for therapeutic riding, which was also another study group, and the equine assist coaching were comfortable, more or less comfortable in the sessions. So that was one of the questions we had. But there are differences, for example, different environments or relations with different personalities of the horses. So there are numerous interesting things that came out of that study. Yeah.
So if we want to know more about it, then we should dive into the research,
yes,
of course.
Well, yeah, if somebody has a specific question, I can answer that. Yes, sure.
Yeah.
And can I add something to that, or maybe address something? Because I'm curious about the signals that a horse can give when they are not comfortable, which not relate to the client or the coachee. So can you as a horse coach, maybe stop the horse coaching because of the signs that a horse can give, not in relation to the coaching?
Oh, yeah, that's a very interesting question. If I take it a little bit further away from, I take it away from the equine assist coaching, for example, in horse riding, in the sport, nowadays we are in discussion that indeed during riding, for example, at the Olympic Games, that if there is a lot of behavior from the horses, we know it is not good, that the judge is now allowed to take the combination out of the competition. So that's a really good sign. Of course, in equine assisted coaching, it's not going to be like that. But we did find in a study, we looked at both positive related behaviors as negative related behaviors. And it's really interesting to see that we all are trained to, I don't know why, we're trained to look at a more or less negative related behavior because we don't want to see them. And from a welfare point of view, it's also very interesting to see what positive related behaviors do horses show. Because, yeah, why not find that balance? I mean, if it shows some negative related behavior, that's okay. I mean, we all do during the day, right? But it's also good if the balance goes the other way. It's better if the balance goes the other way if we talk about welfare. So we want to see positive related behaviors. And that is what we find out in this study, that we haven't been trained enough to look for them. And that is, I think, something for the future, that we have to look more for positive related behaviors and to maybe give opportunities for the horses to show more positive related behaviors. Yeah.
Very interesting to have also the background knowledge from a research perspective. But when we go a bit more back to the practical side, what changes can be seen or can you observe in people and horses as a result of coaching sessions? Because we also had a question also before the break, like what kind of problems or worries people come with for a session?
Well, we do reintegration. That is our main goal. That is also the assignment from the UWV. But most of times people have some psychological issues. So like burnout or a kind of trauma, depression, etc. And that is not that we ask about that, because when a client comes to us, we just start the reintegration part. But when the client is near the horse and the horse is reacting to the tension, a lot of times it is touching trauma. But in my point of view, trauma is some tension that was stored in the body. The connection that we have with trauma is, oh, it's a big problem. You have it your whole life. You have to go to a psychiatrist or something. But it is, in a simple way, some tension that was stored in the body, and the horse helps you to become aware of it. And when you start feeling this tension and you feel that it is released, then people can really rebalance themselves. So most of times horse coaching works very fine to these kind of problems. And what we see after one session even already, and especially when somebody is able to come a few times, they really change. People become more relaxed, they get more color on their face, they have more energy, they feel better about their future, they can start thinking about their future again. And as we describe it, we help people to become, to get back to your intuition or your feelings, instead of staying in your head thinking a lot about what you want or what you can do or can't do, but just feel what you want to do, and then you have the energy for that. It comes back.
That's really nice, I think.
Yeah.
And Tom, when you hear this, what do you recognize in the way that you coach?
Keep keep the balance between head and body. I think that's very important. So I have not the luxury of a horse, of course. So I have it to do with the dialogue that I have to be doing with my clients. There are very different questions, and I think not every question is maybe probably suitable for horse coaching, but in other ways, not every question is suitable for my way of coaching. So if I hear that they address trauma, stress, stored in the body, I think that's a perfect way to address that, and I think that's, in my way of coaching, very hard to achieve without assisted with a horse or a dog or virtual reality or whatever. That's a big difference, I think.
Mm-hmm. And is there something you can learn from each other? So when we look at more the general way of coaching, so without the horse, what can be learned from each other?
Well, of course, everything starts with normal or regular coaching without the horse, because you always have to make contact with the client. You have to talk a bit about what is happening with you, how are you doing today, and that is where the coaching already starts. So as I see it, the horse coaching is only a small part, but the most important one. To help somebody go back to your body, out of your head. And when that's done, and with us, the horse coaching part only takes about half an hour, that a person is standing next to the horse, and then again, the client gets out of the round pen, and then you talk again. And you can do other exercises, or you can everything that you otherwise do with coaching. So it goes together.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, something happens in the audience, but yeah, I agree with that.
Do they need help?
Thanks.
Or?
Yeah, I don't know.
They need a horse.
Yeah.
Or a coach. Or both. But yeah, I agree with that part of the story. So I think it starts with the question and what the coachee want to achieve and what they want to address. And I think in my way it's more specific. So they come with a specific question that they want to learn about or be good about or want to train. And often when you are in dialogue, you can address something different, what more specific way. And I think but help me if I'm wrong, but in your way with horse-assisted coaching, you can just start, well, and experience what is happening on site, and just go on from that. So you've got a big mirror, and you have to interpret that mirror, of course. But I think that's starting point of the trip.
Yeah.
I think that's the how I see it.
Yeah. And it is really nice to work with horses. So I have done the regular coaching a few years before I started horse coaching. And once you're used to it, you don't want to work without a horse, because it is nice to be with a horse, to be outside, to be in the weather. It's cold in the winter.
I can be educated as well, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, all right.
But maybe what's even interesting to explore now, how could a horse-assisted coach session maybe be integrated in a more regular coaching process?
Yeah,
how do you look at that?
I think it's a good way, because I think coaching is not linear, so it goes everywhere, and I think it's I address it in the break as well. If I see coaching, and especially for people who give leading to other people, they are very in their head, and it's very hard to look at what they feel. So if they find it very hard to do that kind of stuff, so if they are not in balance with their heart and body, head and body, I think then it's a really nice way of integrate a normal coach project or a session with one-time horse session. So I think that's a very good combination.
Yeah, what I really hope for the near future is that the horse coaching can be combined with the regular care, the zorg. So people go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist or whatever,
yeah.
And the waiting lists are really long nowadays. And I think it will really help to use horse coaching in the regular care.
Yeah, and I think that's because I'm not a therapist or how do you say it? A psychologist. So I have another waiting list, and the questions that I can address and as a coach can help in personal development are different than sometimes of traumas or youth difficulties. So I think the questions itself are really important to see if horse-assisted coaching can help with that question as well.
Yeah, but like we do reintegration, we do not take care of specific themes or subjects. So I think it would be wonderful if coaching and care could combine more, could work together. And of course, you go to a psychologist nowadays if you have depression or so, and you go to a coach if you have another question. But if it can be combined, that would be great for all the people. And
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
That would
Whether
be
it's
a
not
good future.
without or horse-assisted coaching as well. So it has to be combined as well.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan. Let's hope that will happen in the future. I think it can help a lot of people. Yeah. And we started, of course, today with the focus on what is the role of horses in human well-being, I think more in general. And of course, we're highlighting now really the part about equine-assisted coaching. But I'm very curious to hear from each of you what you think that the role is of horses when we look at the human well-being, in how they can contribute, or where do we need to focus on or maybe be aware of. Can you give your opinion about that?
Yes, I think it's very, you've got a lot of things you can mention about it.
Yes.
The role can be very important when humans can open themselves to horses, to every animal basically, but especially to horses, and get more in touch with nature. And nature, not only the birds and the trees and the plants, but also your own nature. And put away your phone and start feeling and start sensing what's going around you. The sounds and smells and the horse, of course. And that's very nice. The horse, of course. Yes, and that's a song also. So I've got the song in my head. But that's, I think, a very important role. And I see you were in a discussion or in a talk about the role in the standard therapy and in the standard healthcare. Yes, it will be very. It can be very important if you use horses as in combined with other therapies and with other therapies also. And I think that's more efficient. It releases the pressure of the system, and I think it's better for people. The patients, the clients are feeling better.
So really going back to your own nature, feeling like who you are, what you need.
Yeah.
So more that we are able as human beings to use what we already have around in nature, I think, and to connect more. And then, of course, you can integrate the horse as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit back to the past.
Yeah, yeah.
And be with yourself and try to find out what you are feeling and what are you happy about.
That's interesting, Paul. Yes. Katelijne, would you like to react on this as well? How do you see the role of horses in the combination with human well-being?
Yes, I think it's not very different from what you said. I think the horse in this kind of settings is a facilitator to come quicker or more deepened to that connection, what you're looking for, and also as we said earlier, the horse doesn't judge; it just gives you feedback on what you're doing. So the horse sees you're a very subordinate posture, you're very dominant and just walking there, and the horse would stand, just block you or whatever. So I think it gives you direct feedback, and that's I think very important. And as I said earlier, it's important for the coach to both look at both individuals at the same time, and that's I think a challenge. And if I compare it to the dog-assisted therapy or coaching, there is more often, compared to the horses, an extra person at that place in that sessions that is especially taking care of the welfare of the dog. So that person is only looking at the behavior of the dog and say stop when it's getting too much for the dog. And I think that's not the case in horses yet. We've talked about it, whether or not that's necessary. So that is still something maybe in the future that could happen. Yeah.
Yep. Good to think about. And Tom, because I think you learned a lot tonight. How do you look at the role of horses in link with the human well-being?
Well, horses are wonderful animals, I think, and I'm of course a little bit less related to horses than you all. So I think the role of horses, but I think any animal in general, are very important for the well-being of humans. And I think you mentioned it, Katelijne. It's the unconditional love that you can get from an animal, and that gives you an experience of love, of course. But I think it helps you to learn, feel your body more and what's happening there, and just be in that moment. So I think animals in general are very important for the well-being of humans, and maybe horses especially.
They can play a part in it as well, yes.
Yeah.
But basically, we can learn a lot from animals.
I think so. Yes,
from horses, especially, but from all animals.
All animals, I think. Yeah. And I think it's great that there are several studies to learn the language of horses or dogs. I think it's more relevant than to cuddle a rabbit or so. But it's also very, very nice.
Or cuddle
but I think there's not a rabbit-assisted coaching, right? But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Right? You know what I mean.
Rabbits are used for kind of not really coaching, but they're used for people also.
Yeah,
yes.
I think it's helpful to relax and be in that moment.
Yeah, if you talk about rabbits, it's already only the weight you have, especially from a large rabbit, and the warmth you have on your lap. That is already giving the same rest and peace as what you have when you're petting a horse.
It can give you deep comfort, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what animals do. Yeah.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's good if we take a look at the audience as well here in the event room, if there are any questions from your side. We have one. The mic is coming over.
Thank you, Else, and thank you, Henka. I have a question for both Katelijne and Paul. So first of all, I have 2 horses, and one of them is a very good coach, and she's being used regularly. The other one, still a young horse, I would not dare to use her in coaching. So my question to Katelijne is, what is your perspective on the characteristics on horses being suitable for coaching? My question to Paul is, what horse would you pick to coach Tom if he were coming?
Oh, very interesting. Why would you not dare to use the young one?
Getting the question back, thank you. I think at this point she's just too young and too unpredictable, so it wouldn't be safe for her to be in a space with someone who doesn't know horses.
Yeah, true. Yes, we did in our study, and you were involved in it. We did some more work into the personality of the horses, and it's very interesting to see that, especially in this type of settings, both in therapeutic riding as well as equine assisted coaching, it came out as a result that these horses have a personality that is agreeable, so it's a cooperative horse, but also a very extrovert horse, and that makes sense because of course you want to have an agreeable horse, because otherwise it will just do something you wouldn't like to do it, but also to be very extroverted, because that means that you, as well as the coachee, can more precisely see the signs. So that's very important, that that the horse is very direct in what it sees or what it feels or how it behaves. And I think that's very important if you choose the different horses. So your older horse probably does that as well, and is probably also very agreeable, as I have learned, because we know each other. And I can exactly see what you mean with the younger horse, because it's unpredictable, and so it's not. You probably don't know what will happen. It might be neurotic at some points, and that's not what you want in this kind of sessions. So.
Yes, I like to add that also on that part is some horses will take longer to get mature, and they get longer to stay in a puberal phase or something like that. So you have also always you have to look at the horse and say, okay, he's not at ease to use for the coaching. Let's wait a month of a couple of years, and let's see how he's developing. And in most cases, you can see he will be used to around. He will get mature, and he will be more at ease and better to use.
But Paul, how do you know this? Because I think there are a lot of people also online watching. Like, how do I know when can I start coaching with my horse? When is my horse ready for it?
Yes, when is your horse ready for it? First of all, a horse can't be too young. You don't have to. You want to coach with 2 or 3 years old? Absolutely not.
Why not?
Why not? He's young. He is in a puberal phase. He is discovering his life, his surroundings, his herd, his mates,
it's
whatever.
the same with the humans, right?
Yes, it's the same. So yeah,
it's a young child.
Yeah, it's a young child.
Yeah.
Puberty kicks in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like humans also, when they are 70 or 80, they are quite mature. And you've got people that are 25, they are still young boys or something like that. So you have to observe your horse, and you always you have to train your horse in not to how react, but training in how to handle him, handling with your horse, petting him, riding him, do whatever you like with him in a horse-friendly way, and observe it. How does he react on you, and how does he react on other people? And that's the most important thing. And if you are not sure, try it with a friend, with someone who is used to horses, and try it on a careful way. So, but there was another question.
Yes, an interesting one.
And I was happy that first Katelijne was telling her story and asking a question.
You
so
can
I have
think
to
about it, right? Yeah.
My first impression, my first idea was our horse Floris. Well known to Alia, but
oh no,
that's the one.
There's a bet.
Quite extrovert and very clear. He was a long time a stallion until this was 5-6 years old. So, and that you can see back in him. But basically, I will say a warm, friendly, nice horse, but a little bit,
edgy.
Edgy, not too nice. So a little bit to keep you awake and to keep you on the edge.
Well, I'm happy to try it out.
Yeah, now Tom is getting curious.
Is that sufficient enough for you? Yeah?
Okay, thank you. We also have another question from the audience online. Is it the horse that senses the person's emotions, or is it the person who becomes more aware of their own emotions through the interaction with the horse? This is an interesting one. Who would like to react?
I think that horses are very sensitive in detecting any kind of tension that we have in or around our body. And as I explained it, is that emotions are a kind of tension that we store in our body. But as well, people are very good at underpressing our emotions. So when we think that emotions are not there anymore, that you have solved them, the horse will find out there is still something stored in your body. And when the horse mirrors something like these emotions, they become aware again for the person. And the person can restart feeling the older emotions. So I think it's a kind of working together with the horse to make them aware again.
And it also, of course, happens during a session that something new can pop up. So
Exactly.
then you get this combination of working together as well.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I add to that? If I take it more physiologically, the emotion or the behavior, there's a really nice study in which a rider is on a horse, and it rides. It has a heart rate monitor, and the horse as well, and it rides a certain line from A to B, and then the third time it rides it, there is a person standing there in the middle with an umbrella lowered, and when it starts at A, the line, then the people who stand there who say, well, you've seen that person with the umbrella there. Yes, I've seen it. Well, be careful, because now when you pass by, he will put the umbrella up. So be careful. And then you see, of course, the heart rate of the rider goes up. But this horse cannot have heard that, right? But that's the heart rate of the horse also gets up. So that's already a proof that something is happening. And well, it can be called emotion, but it can also be a synchrony of in this case the physiology, the heart rate. But the interesting thing is that they did the same study, not with the rider on the horse, but also the rider next to the horse. So that was not a really physical direction connection. But only well, the thing the horse could see or observe, if I look at from my perspective, is that of course the behavior or the posture of the people leading the horse could tell something. So there is definitely this connection. Yes, for sure.
And a little bit curious about it, because a question: can the horse? Of course, they cannot hear it or understand the sentences, but they can feel the tension of the person that says that he has to look out for something. So, is it also is there also a study that the rider itself is out of the room, and then it tells to the horse that he has to be careful, and then the rider comes back in, and it's the same synchronicity in the heart rate? Because I think the person who says this has also a
I'm not aware of that the same study was done that way, but another study that relates to that maybe is that they've done a study in which they have 3 groups of people petting a horse, and they measured the heart rate of the horse, and they see that the heart rate of the horse lowers when a person pets the horse that is very familiar with the horse, so it comes to the stables, for example, every day. And it also, the heart rate of the horses also lowers when they're being pet by a person who loves horses but does not interact with horses so frequently or even never. But it does not lower when somebody comes there who is more or less afraid of the horse. Mm. So that also makes sense in a physiological way.
Yeah, great. Okay. Yeah.
And this is, of course, something very interesting, right? What happens when you have a session with your heart rate when you have a client in front of you? But I think the same with the horse, like what's the impact of the coach, the coachee and the horse? So what's happening in that combination?
Exactly. Yeah.
That also will have an impact. Yeah, for sure. There is another question here online. Over time, can the horse become a distraction, or does it actually help clients to go deeper than in a regular conversation?
What is distraction?
Afleiding.
Afleiding, yeah.
Okay. So once again, the question?
Over time, can the horse become a distraction? So I think they mean during the session that maybe the horse is distracting the coachee from a specific topic or something they sense. Or does it actually help the client so that the horse is there to go deeper than in a regular conversation? So without the horse.
Yeah, the horse normally points out what the tension is about, and in general, it is something different than what people think. It is more what they feel, but they blocked their feeling, and the horse goes directly to what they feel. So you can see a horse as a distraction of what people think.
But in fact, it's mirroring so precisely
yes.
that the question is it a distraction or is it straight to the point?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes. So it's an interesting question. So it probably, depending on the coachee, will work both ways. Do you want to face what's going on or not?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Is there another question in the audience here? Here is a question. I think Els is going to grab one of the microphones.
Now, I have a question because my mom is also a horse coach. So you are doing it a different way. So my mom has also a lot of friends, but did the horse ever react too hard or that he bit the coachee or because my mom doesn't let their clients step in the circle, but let them on the sideline because it happened sometimes that the horse was too aggressive against the client.
Yeah, well, a good question. I have the experience that when the horse is totally free, they won't get aggressive easily. but aggressive is a bit a strong word. What sometimes happens is that a horse comes near the person and starts sniffling somewhere at the jacket or so, or at the shoes, and they start nibbling at the jacket. And what I've learned from the beginning is that horses do that. You make sure there is no candy in the pockets. That is the one thing you ask. But if it's not, I learned from the clients that they give an answer from their head, so they are thinking a lot, but somewhere down there they have another feeling. Like, for example, when we ask, how are you doing? And somebody says, well, I'm fine, I'm great. While he or she is feeling bad, sadly, or whatever. So the horse detects contradiction in what people say or think and what they feel. So if the horse recognizes that, they start pulling at your jacket. And then it's important that the horse coach starts explaining that, because depending on the character of your horse, they can level up a bit or a lot to, to not nibbling at your jacket, but really bite. They can bite in your velletje, skin. And then you have these blue marks from the horse. But it is really great of horses, because they help you come into your body. They help you get out of your head and start feeling. But if you're too late as the horse coach, and you probably know your horse very well, you can prevent that they come to that point. Yeah, the client will feel that it's hurting, of course, but the horse coach can on forehand explain what the horse is telling, so that you can prevent that they start biting.
I never bite my clients. So that I make sure of that.
You haven't tried it?
No, I haven't tried, but maybe after this.
And I think from the horse perspective, I mean, horses are not aggressive, as in this case they shouldn't be. What sometimes might happen is that they get more agitated. I would like to use that word instead of aggressive, and we can see that. I mean, as a coach, you can see what's happening. Then the horse gives so much signs. Because that's the way they communicate, and horses don't hurt each other, because they're very scary, and that's very vulnerable for them. So they will use their signs so much, and you have to read them, and that's exactly what we're studying. If you can read the horses, this shouldn't happen.
So maybe also interesting to figure out about the characteristics of the horses your mother is using. What you also investigated, Katelijne, of course.
Yeah, and probably a great question for herself, maybe as a horse coach. Is she insecure of that fact? Eh? So maybe
something to explore at home.
Great question.
Yeah, a good question for sure.
And for the effect of horse coaching, just for my curiosity, is it the same if a person is not entering the how do you call them? The pen?
Round pen.
Round. So is the effect different, or maybe similar, or?
I always invite the coachee to enter the room of the horse. If somebody is really scared of horses, sometimes we notice that, then it is fine to start outside of the paddock. But for me, it's better that they are in, because the horse can relate to them, and most of times horses can support or can protect the person. And when I explain that, people really get emotional and relaxed, because they feel that the horse is taking care of them instead of they are being dangerous.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
There's another question in the audience, Monique.
Yes. Yes, I have a question. I'm Monique. I teach here too at the Equine Business Management. I'm wondering, at the moment, if we look how fast the development of AI is going, and I already heard that they have coaching in with VR glasses, and I think with combination with AI, that you can perfectly sort of get a reaction of the horse similar to what you will have in real life. What do you think that will be the impact on this? What kind of impact will it have on equine coaching?
Well, I'm very curious about that development. I'm really interested in what can do these VR glasses to help people. I still believe strongly that there is some kind of energy exchange between the horse and the person. And that is what you miss when you use a VR glass.
You think you really miss that? Because if you look at the gaming of teenagers, that they can totally get into it and get all the feelings of killing and everything.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't know if the feeling of animals, even if you look at movies, you see that people will start crying and stuff like getting emotional. So
I am sure. I'm sure that the people will feel emotions. But what makes horse coaching so relevant for me is that the horse is neutral in reacting to the tension of the people. So if you, what I can imagine, if you have this VR glass and you get emotions and you think about situations that you experienced where you had these emotions before, you can still make your own story about what happened and how it works for you and what you're still carrying with you. It is more like an internal process. When you use an external factor like the horse is, it is neutral to react to the tension of the person. And of course the horse coach needs to be objective to translate the language of the horse to the person. And still the energy between the two living creatures, horse and person, is still different than when it is in yourself. It is not connecting to another living being. But if this is the new research we're going to start, then I'm very curious about what's coming out of that.
I think I think it's already 3 or 4 years ago. We did a little pilot study in this case, and it was with a very vulnerable set of people. We asked people who were recovering from a cancer treatment, right? And we asked them to either. We had one group who watched with a VR braille to videos of horses, but in this case the VR braille that was not as it is now. It was just more or less a movie thing. And the other group of people we had, you coached it with together with your partner coach as well. Yeah. But we only had four persons in each group, so we couldn't make it significant. But I think with the discussions we had, definitely the live animal, in this case the horse, was definitely doing much more compared to the videos, right? Yeah. So that was a little pilot study, and we hope we can continue that a little bit further. Yes.
Yeah, I'm very curious about it as well, because I think maybe because the study you talked about energy, but you talked about the physiological kind of way, and I think that are very several ways to catch that physiological way with biofeedback or different kind of instruments, and that can you and if you put that in a VR perspective, I think you can simulate in VR reaction of a coach from the physiological way. So if you're sweating or if your heart rate goes up because you're in anxiety, or the coach in VR of the horse in VR can react as well. So I think it's interesting. Yeah.
So I think if you have enough information from AI, if you look what it can do now already,
Yeah.
I mean, you just put a heart rate, heart monitor, and maybe sweating, and maybe your pH of your skin. You
Yeah.
know everything what's going on.
I'm out of work in 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree, but still I think what is missing, for example, but maybe you can also make it getting through the smell, the feeling, the touch. So you need more than just the VR Braille classes, I think, to make the whole experience.
I'm wondering, because the equine sector is changing now so much, that if in the future we are even allowed to do this with welfare, and the moment you can sort of take the place of, and maybe it'll be a bit less, but then it still would be a reason to not use the horses.
True, yeah, true. But on the other hand, we have done this large study in the Netherlands about the welfare of the horses in this kind of sector, and this type of studies have been all over the world. And I haven't come across one study that says it's not good for the welfare of the horse. Of course, there are all recommendations and criteria. You have to do it this and this and this way, and don't do it that way. Of course, that's for everything. But we have not find any real proof that it's bad or negative for the horses yet. Yeah.
But I think it's biased, right?
True. It's more or
don't
less
want
biased.
to see that.
Yeah, but I mean, as a scientist, and I'm not a coach. I'm just a recreational rider, so I have not a profit in their business. But I think it's very hard to do research in this type of area because there are so many factors that influence it. Of course, so you have several individuals that are moving. So that's why a lot of studies you cannot compare with each other, and that's why it makes it so hard to get the proof that it's really good for the people as well.
Thank you very much, Monique. That was a very interesting last question. I think something to think about, but it's also something to take with us to the future. I think it's really important. Looking at time, I think we spoke about a lot of interesting topics. You all answered very good questions from the audience, online and here in public. I want to thank the expert speakers for being here, sharing your knowledge, giving your input, looking at the role of horses in human well-being. And I think we have enough work to do to stay aware, like who we are as coaches, to keep on learning, I think, for ourselves as human beings, but also from the perspective of the welfare of horses. So enough to do, but it is the same, I think, more in the general way of coaching. So. Of course. That's an important element. Thank you very much for being here. Same for the audience online. Thank you for joining in, and also the people here in the event room. Good news for you, there are some nice refreshments outside. And thank you all for being here. Have a nice evening.